The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses.
I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car right in your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Who are the top tight ends in this upcoming NFL draft that the Rams should target in rounds 1, 2, or 3? We'll talk about that next on this off-season draft episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, Rams Nation? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. Like, subscribe, and share this video and podcast with all your fellow Rams and football fans out there. We very much appreciate it. Mark, draft talk again, baby. How you doing,
man? Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I never get tired of this stuff. I just can't wait for the draft to start, though. By the time you're listening, watching this, less than 9 days away from when the Rams pick. Late in the first round, hopefully. So good stuff.
Crazy. I mean, it is weird to just sit back as you say that, and it's like, damn, we are a week away. Wow, goes by so. Boom, boom, boom.
I know. That's like Christmas morning, right? It sneaks up on you.
Christmas morning, and gosh, you're right. That's a great comparison. It is. It's the only thing we got going on before physical games start kicking off for preseason and beyond, right? And training camp and all other fun stuff. But today, Rams Nation, I'll be ranking based on film, the top tight ends in the 2025 NFL draft class that the Rams should be interested in rounds 1, 2, or 3. And watch as much physical film as I possibly could get my hands on with as many tight ends as I could, digest. And I ended up coming up with this group that we'll talk about here today. And we'll start immediately with a round 1 worthy tight end. No shock who this probably is. You can guess real quick before I reveal. Tight end from the Penn State, the Pennsylvania area, Tyler Warren. And Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about this All-American level player?
Well, this guy won some awards. He won the John Mackey Award. That's the best tight end in college football. He ended up playing for the old Baltimore Colts. He kind of reinvented the tight end position back in the 60s. Second team All-American, and that surprised me. And then, we'll talk about a guy later on who lit up the stat sheet and won first team All-American. He has the size, athleticism, and swagger, and the spirit. It loved him in their locker room. 1,233 yards receiving and 8 TDs. Penn State's all-time leader for tight ends receptions, yards, and TDs.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
and Lance Zierlein, I'm sorry, Ian, I wanted to throw this in when I remember
Oh, yeah, sure,
Lance
yeah.
Zierlein compares him to Jeremy Shockey. Remember him, the
Oh, interesting.
old Giants tight end.
I don't hate that comparison at all. Well, to what I've seen on film, Raz Nation, as I have him as a round one worthy tight end, is dude's a complete tight end in my opinion. There's still things that can be improved upon, but we'll start with the receiving part of things, right? Ball tracking is excellent. Anytime a pass is over the shoulder, he has to make a tough grab. Jump ball, contested catches, body control, right? When I bring up the point with the wide receiver episode we did about how people got to go like Mr. Fantastic and contort their body to make a crazy catch, he could do all of it. I mean, anything when involving the ball in the air, he's bringing it in. Now, is his catch radius perfect? Like, oh, it's probably not in perfect vicinity and he snags it in no matter what. No, he's not insane in that regard. But in every other factor, again, ball tracking, excellent. Body control, excellent. Jump ball, basketball style to moss some dude, excellent. Contested catch when he's getting roughed up, excellent. And then the yards after catch, the power mark in Rams Nation is crazy. I had heard somewhere that he wears number 44 in honor of the Hall of Fame running back from the Washington Redskins, John Riggins. I guess his dad was a big fan. I mean, he totally plays in that style. He's a throwback player at the tight end spot. Your Mike Ditka's, your whoever else you can think of that's a throwback tight end that's just bulldozing dudes to get extra yards. I mean, he's that type of player. It's absolutely so much fun. You know me, Mark, Rams Nation. I love the guys that are just smash mouth style football. I just love that because at the end of the day, that's what football is, right? Imposing your physical will upon your opponent, and that's how you kick some ass. He's definitely in that in that vein. Blocking, not perfect, right? Sometimes when he's in pass block, which again you shouldn't be having in pass block situations, it's not very good. But in terms of the effort, excellent. In terms of like the physical strength he's doing, the power you could say that he's unleashing on people, I think is pretty good. But a little sloppy with his arm placement, right? And the way he, stations his body. It's average, below average most times. It's very inconsistent. And I think that could be worked upon for sure. And I will say this now, all the tight ends we'll talk about today all need serious, improvement in run blocking. And obviously if they pass block, it's not very easy for tight ends all the time. In terms of route running for him, I would say it's good at times. Sometimes it's sloppy, but he just finds a way to get open and just fight people off, right? In terms of his release from the line of scrimmage, nothing crazy, right? But he's just such like an enforcing power running routes. It's hard to describe unless you watch the film, where it's just like brute strength to get open, right? He's just a throwback tight end that says, get me the damn balls, throw it up, I'm going to bring it in. And it's just so much fun to watch. And I know McVay's going to love this guy. And this is somebody I think, Mark, Rams Nation, that if McVay really wants him, the Rams will make a big package straight up to get him. Let's just say he falls into the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, kind of similar to Brock Bowers last season. I think this would be somebody McVay would be like, all right, let's pull the trigger I'm in on him. Just for his receiving threat ability, get the ball in his hands, let him bulldoze guys. I mean, I think McVay would like this, and I think he's a scheme fit. Line him up at the traditional tight end in line with the lineman, the classic Y. Throw him at the F in the slot. Throw him at the Z, the other receiver. Throw him at the X for fun and throw a jump ball to him, right? That's something we've lacked a ton. He's definitely a player that's capable of bringing those down that we thought, Kobe Parkinson would be able to do. And I think this is a round one worthy guy. And in a dream scenario, Rams make a win now Super Bowl pushing draft move. I think he would be worthy of that for sure.
Yeah, and Ram fans on the channel have poo-pooed the idea of selecting tight end in the first round. But come on, man, this is Sean McVay, and he's tried to do it 2 times in the past, and then he signs a free agent tight end. He's looking for that dream tight end. He continues to look for that dream tight end, and Tyler Warren would be that guy. And hey, that John Riggins comparison, man, that brings back some bad memories, man. That play, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you were around, Ian. I think it was 53-7 in Washington, that playoff game. Riggins like 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards all game long. And if Tyler Warren is that type of guy with the ball in his hands, welcome to LA.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be mad if they made a trade up for him, right? That's all I got to say about that. So Tyler Warren, absolute throwback, classic style tight end. Play him anywhere on the field. And dream scenario, Rams trade up to get him, and he's the tight end for many, 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 many years to come. As, let's be honest, we'll mention it now. Tyler Higbee on the final year of his contract, been battling injuries multiple years in a row, multiple seasons in a row. Something bothering him, never fully healthy, always something going on. And Tyler Higbee's a trooper. I mean, he is the best Rams tight end in history. There's no doubt about that. But I think he will not be back unless he lights it up. And, we need somebody to step in for the future, the foreseeable future. He's definitely a good candidate for that. As we move on, who is another round one worthy tight end I think that Sean McVay would love to have if a trade up for Warren does not happen? And that would be University of Michigan tight end Colston Loveland. Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about this blue and yellow tight end?
Yeah, a little taller, a little leaner than Warren, 6'6", 248, second team All Big Ten. Single season school record for Michigan for the tight end position, 56 catches, just 582 yards and 5 TDs, but he missed some time with a shoulder injury. Should be healthy now, though. And the reports they kind of suggest that he's a pure receiving tight end, a guy that's he's a pass catcher more than a grinder on the line, and that's perfectly okay if that's what you're looking for. And they compare him to Sam Laporta.
Interesting. I don't hate that comparison either. But with Colston Loveland, Rams Nation, this guy is basically a huge wide receiver. Let's just call it what it is. And he is a part of a Jim Harbaugh program. I know Jim Harbaugh was with the Chargers this last season, but he is part of a Jim Harbaugh program. What is that? That is smash mouth football, my favorite style of football. Obviously, I like to be more balanced than that, but it's my favorite just visually playing in my playing days, and it's just that's the essence of football. Like I explained, was how Warren plays. So Colston Loveland played in that system, but it's ironic. He's just a huge, versatile receiving tight end. Because let's start with the blocking then. Now that we're on the smash mouth concept, it's average. Let's just call it what it is. Pass blocking, not good. Again, you don't want him pass blocking, but we got to talk about it. Run blocking is average. I think the effort could be better, truthfully. I think his technique isn't bad, though. And I think this is something that can be coached up out of him, right? It's like, okay, let's get your technique a little more clean with your base, with your hand placement, right? With the drive, the leg movement. And then obviously he's a big human being. So it's like, all right, man, let's get in that weight room. Let's get yourself a little bit stronger. And let's immediately start working on that to start moving people, or at least being in a stalemate. There was just too many times where I was like, you shouldn't be whiffing on that, or you shouldn't be getting pushed back on that. So blocking is not his forte, but I think that can be improved upon. Now, what is his superpower? It's all the receiving stuff, right? We'll talk about his route running first, because I think that's what stands out. I mean, it's so crispy. It's filthy, Mark, for a big tight end. It's filthy. His release at the line of scrimmage is fantastic. It's better than a lot of wide receivers in this draft, sincerely. His breaks, his hip movement, the way he looks so smooth, running like a deep out route or a deep in, or even the streak corner post. I mean, it's wide receiver-esque. It's really, really remarkable. Excellent. I think his ability to find the open zones, right? How we talk about receivers being savvy, like, okay, I'm supposed to be here at the numbers, but it's covered up. Okay, I got to be able to shift around and get open. I think he does an excellent job at that too. And then he's obviously got tons of speed, right? Once the ball's in his hands and he gets a lane to really hit it, he outruns tons of secondary guys. Completely can outrun a lot of safeties and linebackers, which is what you want in a tight end, right? And then he definitely has another gear. If he gets that extra room to really hit the Jets, I mean, see you later. He's a big tight end that can run away from a lot of people. Now, the yards after catch, like, bulldozing, fighting for extra yards, totally not his thing. For a bigger guy, I wish he would have more of that. But this is a 100%, you can consider him just a really big receiver who can line him about the Y, the classic tight end spot next to the O-line, right tackle, et cetera, et cetera. And just get that man out there to be a receiving threat. McVay is going to love the route running, right? Similar to our Brock Bowers. So if he doesn't absolutely love Tyler Warren for all the other stuff, and, maybe they want to make a small little trade up for Colson Loveland, I wouldn't be mad about that either. And if he's there at 26, I think you can just bet your bottom dollar that McVay is going to want him there at pick 26. So again, a player that's just a huge wide receiver, runs better routes than a lot of wide receivers that are second or third round, or even you can even consider his first round worthy, depending on who you talk to. Speed is there. Catching overall, I didn't touch on that as I'm just thinking about all the route running stuff. Good. I'd say good body control. Ball tracking could be a little bit better for his size. The last thing I will say, I wish I would have saw more jump ball opportunities for him. I think he definitely could have excelled in that. I think that has to do with his overall strength, maybe dealing with the shoulder, right? All that stuff. So he has levels to really improve his game as like a traditional physical tight end. If those things can get corrected, and maybe not correct is the right word, but could just be boosted up, I mean, this dude would be a deadly, deadly tight end.
And keep in mind, some mock drafts, some analysts have him going ahead of Warren. I guess it just depends on what you're looking for your offense, right?
Yeah, I look at. I don't think you can justify Tyler Warren not being the first tight end. I just can't see it because of all just the way he plays. It's just that translates to successful tight end play, right? Colson Loveland does as well, but the blocking stuff, some of his, like using his bigger body is not there. It's very inconsistent. I just don't agree with that, truthfully. But hey.
Fair enough.
You never know. But definitely round one worthy. I mean, again, imagine him with like Cam Ward, right? If they were in like, we're spreading it out, let a good quarterback throw to you a bunch. I mean, his stats would be absolutely ridiculous. Let's just call it what it is. But he was in, again, a Jim Harbaugh smash mouth football scheme with quarterbacks who weren't throwing the ball well, so you got to take that in a grain of salt. But when he did run routes, he was, being featured and thrown to. I mean, dude was absolutely fantastic in the receiving game, in my opinion. The route running, that's a superpower, right? So Colson Loveland, round one worthy, in my opinion. And then who's another player that I've enjoyed who, I had heard about him, right? I didn't watch a ton of Miami games before I really started to unveil the tape. But as I watched Cam Ward's tape, and I said, you know what, this guy's pretty dang freaking good. And this gentleman here, who I think is round two worthy, is Elijah Arroyo from the University of Miami. Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about this dude?
Oh, he's 6'5", 250, second team all ACC, 35 catches, 590 yards, and 7 TDs. He had 2 seasons lost games due to one knee injury, so he lost some opportunities there. The notes on him say that he's got average speed, but he's really good at settling in space, finding the open zones, and Lance called him a move tight end.
Move tight end, interesting. So with Elijah Arroyo here, he was in a passing offense, because they had Cam Ward, who is a first round pick by far, is the best quarterback in this upcoming draft. So he was available in the passing game a ton, and this is where he's an interesting player. So at times, Mark, And we'll start with the speed thing, right? There's times where he looks incredibly fast. And I think he was banged up at certain parts of the year where the speed was kind of inconsistent. But there's times where on film it looked like he was completely healthy, and he looked like a fast tight end to me, where he had another gear of acceleration, where he had really good speed and yards after catch. Then there was times I could see maybe he would get banged around and have to take a big hit, and he would be kind of, I don't know, not playing hurt, but playing banged up, and maybe that speed and all that wasn't there. But I think fully healthy, I think that he is not some slow tight end, or he is like where speed's an issue. I disagree with that based on what I saw on film.
Yeah, maybe it's the knee. Yeah, maybe it's the knee injury they're not factoring in.
I think so. I mean, again, when he looked like he was rocking and rolling, no, because you could see it, everyone. So I just wanted to say that with any player. So there's that. I think when he's fully healthy, I think he's got plenty of speed, and he looks like a fast tight end to me. The route running, I think, is pretty dang good. I liked a lot of the crispiness in his breaks, where he had looked very, very smooth on out routes, in routes, obviously running some double moves they sent him on. He looked very good, in my opinion. Was pretty solid, pretty good in zone coverage. Sometimes I feel like maybe he was coached to be like, hey, you got to be here. Cam Ward's going to find you right here at the seam, stick right there, or right here at the numbers or whatever. I feel like he probably could have done a better job and maybe finding open areas. And not that he didn't do that, but I feel like it was good. I thought it could have been better. Against press coverage and his release, I thought it was pretty good. He's obviously a bigger guy, so that really wasn't like a necessary thing. But I thought it was pretty good at times. And then in terms of his catching overall, right? The ball tracking, I thought was pretty good overall. I thought the jump ball stuff could have been better. I think that could be something that he can work on for sure. Contested catches, his body control and all that. So inconsistent. Sometimes you'd be like, wow. Sometimes you'd be like, you should have gotten that, or you should have at least gotten some hands on that. Does that make sense? And then in terms of this catch radius, though, I think a lot of times when Cam Ward was throwing just insane NFL level throws on the sideline or up the seam, when he's in the vicinity, it wasn't some crazy, insane, body contortion that he had to do. I mean, he brought it in. So again, things that he can work on that I think teams could be able to boost him up, and obviously the Rams with us could boost him up, and I think it'd be a lot better once he becomes a pro with the Rams if that happens. Blocking wise, I think his effort is there for sure. Another guy where I think like, hey man, let's hit the weight room. Was he injured? Probably the knee had something to do with it, where I feel like a lot of the power, the strength that he had in it was kind of hit or miss, right? But in terms of moving people when he got them off centered, and I feel like was fully healthy, he could definitely do it. So overall, I think if he was fully healthy, I think his film would be really, really good from start to finish, right? All the games that he played. But I think that knee injury lowered maybe my full expectations from game to game. But hey, he's got time to heal up. And another super good receiving threat, in my opinion, where McVay is going to like this guy too. So, depending on how the Rams want to go in that first round, trade back, trade up for any amount of players, I would be totally fine with, or I'd be really happy if we got him in the second round in a trade back, because I don't think he'll be around in the third for sure.
Yeah, and I think he's the one guy on the YouTube channel. I don't know how many times I've heard comments, hey, why didn't you take Arroyo? So he's a popular pick with Ram fans, I think.
Yeah, and look, again, the knee injury stuff, but when he was healthy, he looked fast to me. His breaks and route running was really, really dang good. Excellent at times. So McVay's going to love that, right? McVay just wants a receiving tight end, and we got a lot of options thus far that we talked about, right? Out of these three first guys. So round 2 worthy player, Elijah Arroyo from the University of Miami. We'll see what happens in the first round with McVay's infatuation for first round tight ends. But another player who I think is round 2 worthy is a son of a Hall of Famer. And that would be Mason Taylor, son of Hall of Famer Jason Taylor, for all his times with the Miami Dolphins and then his short stints with the New York Jets. But Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about this LSU tight end here?
Very similar in size to Arroyo, 6'5", 251. He had 55 catches for 546 yards and 2 TDs this past season. That 55 set a single season school record for LSU. You're going to hear that a lot with these guys that we're talking about. I think 3 or 4 of them set their school single season record of one sort or another. The first LSU tight end to have over 100 receptions on his career, and he was compared to Dallas Goedert.
Interesting. Dallas Goedert. All right. I don't hate that comparison either. But starting out here with Mason Taylor, we'll talk about the speed then, right? He's not some fast tight end where he's running away from people and all. That's not his game at all, at all, at all. Okay, but he's not slow. Let's not get it twisted here. But he's definitely nowhere near as fast as Colson or Tyler or Arroyo that we've talked about thus far. Where his superpower is definitely in just the physical catching ability, right? Ball tracking is excellent, right? When it's an over the shoulder and all that, he's never missing any of those, right? The body control to be able to contort on a crazy catch is excellent as well, right? Contested catches, though, I think definitely could be a little bit better in the jump ball game, right? Contact when he's getting hit around. I think for a bigger guy, I wish I would have saw a little bit more, catching power out of that, right? The yards after catch, I think he definitely could have been more of a bulldozer, right? Really not much agility to make people miss. That's really not his game either. And then the speed, like I talked about earlier, nothing to say wow about at all. But I do like his route running though. I think there's a lot of times where I'm like, that was a nice crispy route with his feet. He had really good feet movement. And then other times I just thought, okay, it looked a little sloppy there. So that's something I think that can be worked upon definitely. Blocking wise, I think it was, again, all these tight ends, and especially him as well, very hit or miss, right? Ironically, when they would have him stay back and they would have him, help out and block edge defenders, I thought it was pretty good, actually. And run blocking, it was okay. Again, hit or miss like just all the other guys. Technique, very inconsistent, right? That's something that can be worked upon as well. But I think overall, this guy is a reliable tight end who's got great hands, somebody who runs good routes, but it's just got to be more consistent, right? And I think somebody who's got really good body control when it comes to making those, what's the word I want to say, those very tough catches. But again, maybe not Mr. Fantastic Gumby style, but reliable. I mean, watching film just at the top of my head, I think I maybe saw like one drop pass. So, super, super reliable hands. And I think this is something that all these other things that you could say are, quote unquote, things to improve upon can be coached up with the Rams, and he can really blossom into a good tight end, right? Again, a team that he played for with quarterback, inconsistencies. What if he played with Cam Ward, right? I'm going to keep referring to that. What if he played with Cam Ward? Or what if he played with Drew Aller, who was just launching it at Tyler Warren, right? It all matters, the place that you're at and all that. So you got to be able to see these guys on an individual level and how they perform when they're getting the ball thrown to them and all that. But I do like him.
Yeah, I see Taylor as, I don't know if this is a fair assessment, but kind of the safe pick, high floor, low ceiling, he's going to make your roster, obviously, and he's going to be a decent tight end. He doesn't really have the wow factor a couple of these other guys have, though.
No, and that's true, But again, I think a lot of the things that could be coached up could make him like a legitimately good starting tight end. But we could say that about a lot of these players. But definitely with him, because he's a big human being, it's like, just like Colson, just like Elijah, it's like, let's improve upon these things because you got the receiving prowess, right? You don't drop passes. A lot of your routes most times are crispy. There's sometimes they look sloppy, but if those things are coached up, which I know the Rams would do, I know McVay would work with these guys to do as a former tight ends coach himself. If they picked him in round 2, I definitely would not be mad about it. But you never know. It's all about what teams prefer and team needs and yada, yada, yada. You know how that goes, Mark.
Absolutely.
But all right, Rams Nation. One of my personal favorites who I had no idea about until I had a couple buddies be like, "You gotta see this guy," and just watch his tape. And I was like, "All right." And that is Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green University. I have him round 2 or 3 worthy, and I'll get into why I say that. But Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
Well, this is the guy with the wow factor, right? He's amazing. Only 6'3", though, 241 pounds, ran a 4.7 140. It was, among all these guys, you got Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. It was Harold Fannin Jr. that was the All-American tight end first team. And, well, there's good reason for that. He led the FBS with 117 catches, 1,555 yards, both single season records, also had 10 TDs. And in that Ventures Bowl, lost to Arkansas, and that was the last time we saw him, I think. 17 catches for 213 yards. He's just, he's a fun guy to watch. If you go find some tape on that Ventures Bowl, I think you'll be sold on this guy. And they compared him to Jawan Johnson.
Oh, interesting. Jawan Johnson. Don't hate that comparison either. But with Harold Fannin Jr., and why I think I really started to fall in love with him as like a round 3 pick. Like, let's just say we go different positions for the first round and maybe a trade back in a round 2 and et cetera, is because, I mean, his route running is, in my opinion, up there with Colston Loveland. Like, it's wide receiver. Oh, that was filthy. So we'll start there then. The nuance and the precision with his feet to just get open. I mean, I will say this. I get you can argue, hey, look at the competition he's playing with. Look at, he's not going up against Power 4 conferences. You know what I mean? And while that is true, him being the focal point of the school's offense, like the wide receivers were taking a back seat to him in the passing game. And I mean, Mark, Rams Nation, there's some routes that are just absolutely filthy on film. I was like, man, this is better than a lot of wide receivers in this draft. That, the catching ability, right? The ball tracking in the air, the over-the-shoulder stuff, the contortion of his body to make a crazy catch, right? The tough catches in the middle, getting banged around, snags them in. The yards after catch, right? I mean, he's juking people out. He's spin moving. He's baiting people to dive at him, like Madden moves and going that. His speed is much better than his 40 time, in my opinion. He definitely plays a lot faster than that. And blocking wise, I see the effort. Like, I can tell that he's really trying to get people in, but just like all the other guys, definitely needs to work on it, get way better technique, right? Feet, arms, legs, all that stuff. And definitely somebody who I think it could, get stronger physically as well. And I say all that to say that's not his forte, because the team was like, you're our best receiving threat. We're featuring you every passing play. And yes, when he gets to the NFL, yes, let's say he is selected by Rams, he will have to block. And I think those are things he can improve upon. But another player that McVay's going to absolutely love because of the route running and because of his catching ability and a lot of the wow stuff and the receiving. Definitely somebody who, round 2 worthy, if you just absolutely say the receiving stuff is too good for us to pass on. Round 3 worthy if you're like, he never blocked, and then when he did block, it was hit or miss. So depending how you want to lean there, and then obviously the last factor being like, hey, he didn't play a lot of power 5, Power 4 conferences, but to my defense and to his defense on this, had some good moments against Penn State in his career, had some good moments against Texas A&M this last season as well. Obviously had a good bowl game, yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, hey, we've seen tons of tight ends throughout the years who maybe didn't play big competition, were basketball guys who never really played and ended up being Hall of Famers. My God. So I think with that, round 2 or 3 worthy, in my opinion, I'd be happy to see him in Horns, and I know McVay would love to have him, running routes for us.
Yeah, and remember when we had the guys from Draft Dynasty on, this is a guy they loved, and they pointed out that he's just gets open over and over and over again. He's just always open, and that's a good trait.
No, it is a good trait. So we'll see what happens. So far, some good tight ends to choose from, Ram Nation. I think any of these guys I'd be happy to have. Catching some passes from Matthew Stafford for a Super Bowl run, right? That's what we want here. So there you go. Round 2 or 3 worthy for Harold Fannin Jr. And another player I just wasn't really familiar with until I started to dive into some film on guys. And from the University of Oregon, Terrence Ferguson, who I think is a round 3 worthy player. Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about this guy?
Well, he's 6'5", 247, and he ran a 4.63 40. So one of the faster guys on tape, anyways, as far as, in a timed 40. Another guy set a school record, career receptions, 134 there. Had 16 receiving TDs on his career, and both school records. He was 20 yards shy of Ed Dixon's. Remember Ed Dixon, the old Oregon tight end?
Yeah.
20 yards short of his school record in receiving yards. What I read about this guy is, and maybe I'll get into it a little bit, is they used him on a lot of short passes. They didn't send him vertical very much or on crossing patterns, that type of thing. A lot of short catches, catch and runs type situations. And there were some concerns about his blocking as well.
Yes. So with Terrence Ferguson here, we'll start with the blocking. Again, hit or miss, but I think out of all the guys me personally seeing on film, I think you could argue him and Tyler Warren are probably the two of the best, truthfully, in my opinion. The technique was a lot better than most of these tight ends that we've talked about thus far. I think his play strength and getting guys, the effort was there, right? Being able to move some people, I saw that more than a lot of the other guys. So yes, there's a lot of things to improve upon, but I think him and Tyler Warren are probably the best overall in the blocking as a whole. So I'll say that real quick. So good, that's a plus for this class as a whole, right? I think he plays very strong though. At times, there's times where I'm like, okay, there we go. Once he gets the ball in his hands, right? Yards after catch wise, a little bit faster than I thought. There's times where I was like, oh, he looks like he's moving pretty good there. And some other times where I was like, I thought he could have been a little bit faster, right? Based on his 40 time and all that's came out since. The power, his strength, right? I would like to see him as a bigger guy be able to bulldoze through dudes a little bit more, right? And again, that's probably hit the weight room. Let's get more acclimated to the NFL game, and I think that can happen as well. The elusiveness and like his agility and juking guys out, that's definitely not his game at all, right? And we're not asking him to be like, oh, make a cut on that guy or spin move that. That's just not happening at all. But route running, I say is inconsistent, right? Good at times. I was like, oh, that was nice there on that in or that out route or that double move up the seam. But he just plays strong, right? He's like, hey, you're not going to move me. You're not going to get me off kiltered on routes. But that's something that could be improved upon for sure. Body control, right, is, I think for a bigger guy could be better, right? Not everybody could be, Tyler Warren, Loveland, Harold Fannin Jr., these crazy contortions and, making crazy catches. That's definitely not his thing. But when the ball's in his vicinity, it's not some crazy outrageous catch he has to make. I mean, he snags it in, which is good, right? Ball tracking, I think, could be better, though. That is something where I was like, hey, man, that one that was over the shoulder, I feel like you could have saw that and got that in a little bit better and not made it so tough on yourself. Or, I think if you would have saw that earlier and be able to track it down, you could have got that pass. So that's something that he can work on as well. But speed, all that, for a player, for his size and all that, I think there's a lot of things that can be, improved upon. And I do like him overall, right? There's a lot of good things that I saw. But round 3 worthy, could I see this guy going in round 4 and later? Sure. But there's a lot of traits that I think could be coached up. And especially with us, I think we would coach those things up. And he definitely could be a good tight end with us, right? In the receiving aspect and all that fun stuff, Mark.
Yeah, and this is a guy Scott Richmond liked as well. When he talked about tight ends. And just to clarify on the blocking, the concern that the scouting report I saw, they were more concerned about his tenacity, his willingness to block, I guess, on a regular basis. So that's where they dinged him, not so much on technique, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look at like all these guys have blocking issues, like I said, right? All of them, everyone that we'll talk about today. So all these things, I mean, I didn't see a ton of where it was like no effort at all. I didn't see any of that from what I watched on film, but they all need work, and he needs work too, and that's something that could be coached up, right? Weight room, coached up, all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah, and they're probably, college seniors especially, they're trying to show up in the receiving game first, I would guess.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And again, someone who's got the size, all that, and I think he can be coached up and be a good tight end, if he falls in the right spot. So round three worthy, but again, definitely can see him going in the fourth or later based on other teams' needs, based on, all that stuff, right? But round three worthy, in my opinion, based on what I saw on some tape, all right? And then the last tight end who I think is round three worthy would be Gunnar Helm from the University of Texas. And Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
What do we got on Helm? He's 6'5", 241. Might be the lightest one in this group, right there with Fannin Jr. Ran a 4.8, 440, second team All ACC. Wait a minute, he's Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that must be All SEC. Sorry about that. Another guy with the single season school record, 60 catches and 786 yards, school records in both. Also had 7 TDs, and he did miss a started all 16 games, so certainly got some durability on his side. And they compared him to Jake Ferguson.
Interesting, Jake Ferguson. All right, not bad, not bad. So with Gunnar Helm, we'll just talk about the speed, right? He's not a fast tight end, like at all. Like this, the film don't lie. I don't know what his 40 time. What was his 40 time? Did you say that again, Mark?
They had it at 4.84.
Yeah, and then, like that matches what you see on film, right? Definitely not running away from anybody. None of that stuff. Right, it's not happening. So with that, with the yards after catch, definitely not his forte. And at the NFL level, I mean, he's not going to be running away from anybody at all, in my opinion. But I think he's really good at everything else, though, truthfully. So in terms of, let's start with the route running then. I think he's got a lot of good moves, sincerely, right? I think a lot of his footwork is very, very polished up and sometimes excellent. Not all the time, but there's times I was like, man, that was a nice route. He really broke and got away from that safety, got away from that corner, and looked pretty dang good. His recognition, finding the open zones, again, could be better, but I thought at times looked pretty dang good too, right? And in terms of catching, very, very sure-handed. Catch radius, I thought was very good. Things that were thrown in his area. Ball tracking, I thought was very good as well, right? Be able to find a crazy pass over the shoulder, be able to track it when, defenders are all on him. I thought was very good. I thought his body control, right? Being able to contort his body to make a crazy catch was very good as well. I thought jump ball was very good, right? Throw that thing up basketball style that, we desperately need in that game, right? We thought Colby Parkinson would do that. He did not. I thought was very good as well. Texas gave him those opportunities, right? On a big red zone possession or even like a big fourth down where they say we got to throw this thing up, third down, contested catches. Again, very, very good in my opinion. Had way more agility, right, in the yards after catch to be able to make a guy miss, make a cut there. Even though he's not fast, he did have some moves, which I was like, okay, right on. Power and his strength yards after catch, I thought he was able to run through some guys at time able to fight for some extra yardage. I thought, okay, that was pretty good too. And in terms of pass blocking and run blocking and blocking as a whole, again, just like everybody else, needs improvement. I thought the effort was there, but again, technique could be improved upon. Definitely, right, hit the weight room, get stronger for a bigger guy, yada, yada, yada. And that could be coached up. So a tight end who, again, other than him being slow, quote unquote, I really liked his game overall. And I think this would be somebody who would be reliable, could play a lot of snaps, could be good in the receiving game, could run some good routes, and then just be coached up in the blocking game. And then you could say, hey, man, he's a reliable tight end that we can put out there and he can make a difference for sure. Again, maybe not running away from anybody or yards after catch running away from anybody. That's not his thing and probably never will be. But round three worthy, in my opinion. I mean, he'll definitely be somebody where you say, look at him catching a lot of touchdowns or first downs. And you'd be like, He really doesn't run away from anybody, but look at him. Reliable, makes good catches, sure-handed. And I like this tape outside of, those flaws, which a lot of the players do have, Mark.
Yeah, I guess I'd categorize him as another high floor, low ceiling guy.
No.
Probably not going to make a bunch of Pro Bowls, but he's going to be a solid tight end for years.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I have him round through worthy because I thought all his tape and everything I talked about the positive, which is the majority of his game, is good. Round through worthy, but because of the speed and all that, teams can be like, and if we don't like that, I can easily see him falling in around 4, 5, and beyond as well because of that. Because of that. So those are all my guys, Mark. Everyone else, I know people talk about, Notre Dame tight end, right? I'm blanking on his name here. What is his name? Mitchell Evans, right? People like to talk about the Texas Tech tight end sometimes with Jalen Conyers, Nebraska tight end Thomas Fidone, other guys, of course. And I just don't think you could justify them going in round 3 or sooner than that. So I got this group of guys that we talked about here today, Mark. And again, depending on how that first round flows, depending on how how Sean McVay feels about those first round worthy tight ends that I believe, right? Tyler Warren from Penn State, Colson Loveland. I mean, this thing could go wild depending on how the first round draft portion of this thing goes. But I would really, really like to see maybe other needs get addressed, and then a Harold Fannin Jr. in round 2 or 3. I just have a weird feeling that he would work out extremely well in this McVay offense as, again, a second or third round worthy pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've picked Fanning in at least 2 mock drafts, and every time I've got the Elijah Arroyo pushback, which I understand. But I'm with you, man. There's something electric about Fannin. And the more I look at this draft, as much as I'm looking forward to late Thursday night, the Rams making a pick, I really think after you talking about these wide receivers and this great wide receiver class and this great tight end class, there's a very good possibility that if we could drop back into the second round and maybe move up a little bit as well in the third, we could get one of these tight ends and one of the wide receivers you've talked about, and be really happy with that.
Yeah, there's just so many different ways this thing can go, and we could talk. I mean, any fan of any team could say that about their squad, right? Trade back, get more better players. But, you got to be able to find somebody who's willing to trade up for you to trade back. Like this, again, we got to see what happens with the quarterbacks. We got to see what happens with other skilled players. And like this thing has a million different ways it can unfold, but I'm in no way against trading back and acquiring a lot more good players, right? To your point about, hey, let's trade back and let's get Harold Fannin Jr. in rounds 2 or 3. And then let's, put him in tandem with, let's just say
Jaden Higgins
Williams that I really like. Or Jaden Higgins, yes, or whoever, any of the guys we talked about. I mean, there's so many different guys. It's absurd. So I mean, there's tons of different ways it can unfold, right? I haven't even talked about corners, safeties yet, rushers, D-line. I mean, we'll have those videos out within the next week before the draft, everyone. So I mean, there's just so many different ways this thing can go, but it all depends what other teams do. But there's a lot of good tight ends, so I think I could play some good football for us based on everyone that we talked about here today, though, Mark.
Yeah, and the scenario that could very well happen, kind of what happened to the Rams last year, they want to move back, and they're desperate to move back. They may not get fair value back.
Yeah.
They may not get the draft card points, the value chart points that you're expecting. But if they love the players, just like they loved Braden Fisk last year, everybody, they took some criticism for that trade. I think it worked out okay.
Oh yeah, it was good.
They may have to do something similar to that. So we want to move back because we can get 2 guys we love, and you know what? We're going to sacrifice a 6th round pick to make it happen. A one extra pick that they shouldn't have to give up.
Absolutely. So I mean, hey, the good thing about the Rams that has been revealed over the years is that it's not just the GM making the phone calls, right? It's Les Snead. It is Sean McVay making phone calls. It is Tony Pastores making phone calls. Now the GM of the Jaguars, James Gladstone, you saw last year, and they've reported on it. He's making phone calls to facilitate possible trades and get. So this isn't just a one-man show like other organizations do. Everyone who has say in the draft, right, that is part of Rams leadership, they all are making calls to make things happen. And I think that's a great thing. So the Rams will explore all avenues, and we'll see how it ends up. But I think no doubt about it, one of these tight ends will end up with the Rams. I just think that's a guarantee, honestly.
Yeah, I would guarantee that the Rams are going to take a wide receiver, a tight end, a running back, and I was going to say cornerback. And before we get out of here, Ian, I got to ask you, how would you feel about Jalen Ramsey coming back?
I don't hate it, but a trade, there's just no way. I mean, look at the Rams bailed on him because they didn't want to.
Yeah, but it was a friendly parting though.
No, I understand, but I'm saying like they bailed on him because the money didn't make sense for them anymore, right? Like they're like, yeah, we're not paying you that, even though that was years ago already. I mean, not super long ago. So we would have to take on a $21 million salary, and I'm like, yeah,
would we have to take that on? There's
in a trade, right? In a trade, I mean, obviously there'd be some dead money and a lot of stuff to the Miami Dolphins, but that's just not happening. Like when Rams part with players, if they're not coming back for really cheap vet minimums or a little bit more, it ain't happening. So would I love Jalen Ramsey to come back? That'd be great. Is it likely? Absolutely not. It is not likely. So we'll see. I mean, but I don't expect any trade to happen in that respect, Rams Nation.
Yeah.
Ramsey back to the Rams.
I figured we at least had to discuss it because I know a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah, no, I understand that for sure. But, these tight ends though, Mark. I will say, guaranteed one of these guys that we talked about here today, I think one of them will be on the Rams. I just think that's what will happen. But you never know.
Well,
sometimes doing that jinxes ourselves. So, but I think McVay will love this group as a whole. But Rams Nation, which tight end do you want to see drafted by the Rams in rounds 1, 2, or 3? Is it screw it, trade up for Tyler Warren? Is it sit back and wait maybe for Colson Loveland or make a small little trade for him? Is it let's take the Miami tight end Arroyo in round 2, Harold Fannin Jr. in round 2 or 3 if he's there, Mason Taylor? Do you guys like him? Maybe Ferguson late in round 3 with that comp pick that we got from Raheem Morris. Maybe we use a comp pick on Gunnar Helm to be, a tight end that fills a need, right, to be blocking and be sure-handed and all that. Let me know in the comments how you feel about that. And, man, really good group as receivers. No doubt about it. So any final thoughts before we get out of here, Mark?
No, I'm kind of in the Harold Fannin camp too, but I'd be happy with just about any of these guys, leaning towards the top 4 or 5 you talked about though.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this group for sure. I like this group for sure, and no doubt about it, Rams Nation. With Tyler Higbee's contract being up, with Colby Parkinson not working out this far, with Davis Allen obviously on a cheap deal that has no really big sway or say with how the team could go. Tight end is a need. There's just no doubt about it. And McVay's been trying to trade up for one for a couple years in a row now, it feels like. But that'll do it here, Rams Nation. Thanks for tuning in on this draft off-season episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. Again, like, subscribe, share this video, share this podcast with all your fellow Rams and football fans out there. We very much appreciate it. And don't ever forget, go Rams, baby.
That's right.